What's going on, everybody? In this video here, I'm going to talk about Sphere 3D. I've talked about this one before. It's a Bitcoin miner. They just recently gave a Bitcoin mining update a few days ago. So we're going to go over this mining update, and I'm also going to give you my overall thoughts on it. We'll take a look at the chart. This is a company I'm considering reopening a position on. Disclaimer, this is a very high risk small cap company. We're talking about a $25 million company. And to add to the list of negatives for this small cap risky company, they were under $1 for quite a while. They recently had a reverse split to regain NASDAQ compliance. So that negative catalyst is now behind us. But of course, knowing that a company has had a reverse split shows that there is a major issue with it. And of course, we're in a very rough environment for small caps where the Fed is continuing to increase rates. I'd argue that we're at the end of the rate hikes. Inflation is getting very close to the Fed's target, and soon I expect the Fed to start lowering rates. But let's take a look at Sphere 3D. We're gonna look at the mining update. We're gonna look at the chart. So let's get into this one. So their mining update dropped on August 8th, just a few days before this upload here, and this is regarding the month of July. Now let's look at some key highlights. They mined 59.8 Bitcoin in July, which is down 8% from June, and we'll go over why that is. But it is up 367%, or 3.5 times just about year over year. Now their month-end operating hash rate increased to 1.1 exahash. And you might scoff at that and say, look at CleanSpark, they're at a 9 exahash. Well, CleanSpark is a $700–800 million company, and we're talking about a $25 million company here. So this is like a 30th the market cap of CleanSpark, while mining about a 1/9 of the coin. And if you were just looking at hash rate to market cap, this seems like a better deal. But of course, there's many nuances, of course, balance sheet, all that. Just looking at the hash rate at face value to market cap, Sphere 3D is about a 1/9 of the hash rate of CleanSpark, while being about a 30th of the market cap. And that's just a very rough estimate. But let's continue. Operations achieved a 75.2 Bitcoin per exahash efficiency. Their uptime was 80%, so they didn't have 100% uptime. They were actually down from June due to an increase in curtailments over the month as a record of high temperatures at their hosting partner sites. And what can we expect moving forwards? When temperatures start dropping, we should see more uptime on their Bitcoin miners. Now let's look at some other things here. June, they did mine 65.1 Bitcoin. In July, which is the update, they mined 59.8, so a small drop. However, in July, 12.8. You can see that they've massively increased their mining from pretty much when they started. If you guys remember way back, they were supposed to have a merger with Griffin. That merger was terminated, and this company decided to go out on their own and just do their own Bitcoin mining. Now looking at their Bitcoin sold, they sold 67 in the month prior in June, and they sold 70 in July. So they're taking advantage of selling that Bitcoin. They're not necessarily holding it all. They are selling their Bitcoin to continue adding to money so that they can grow operations. And taking a look at mining revenue, it's literally the same as June, 1.8 million, whereas in July it's 1.8 million as well. And their Bitcoin holdings has dropped. Like I said, they've been making use of the Bitcoin they have to keep from increasing debt, to be able to pay for operations, to be able to pay for expansion. But that is one thing that we want to start seeing increasing very soon as Bitcoin starts raising in price. I'd rather start seeing them add to their holdings, because I am very confident that Bitcoin will go up in price within a few months. Now looking at deployed miners, we have an increase in deployed miners month over month. We're now at 10,240 deployed miners, and there is more to come, and we'll talk about that here in a second. Now their month over month hash rate, they did increase their hash rate from June into July of a 1.1 exahash, so they increased in 1 month 0.1 exahash. Now looking at the CEO comments, in July we mined 59.8 Bitcoin, representing a 367% increase year over year and 8% decrease from June. And we get a little more detail. You know, we knew that it was from high heat, but the decrease in production from June was due to a significant increase in curtailments related to record high temperatures at our Texas and Missouri hosting sites. Our commitment to both sustainability and operational effectiveness remains resolute despite these natural challenges. Obviously, as the months tick on, we will start getting to cooler temperatures, so they should be able to get all those Bitcoin miners going and have a better percentage of uptime. Now we have a little bit of a future guidance regarding Bitcoin miners. At the end of the month, our hosting partner sites completed installation of an additional 2,400 miners, bringing our total installed hash rate to 1.35 exahash. So throughout July, they were increasing their hash rate from that 1.1 that was recorded. Now it's at a 1.35. Moreover, we are strategically deploying another 1,800 miners across our existing and newly identified hosting sites. This initiative is set to drive our mining capacity up to our target of 1.5 exahash. Once we reach this milestone, we anticipate it will enable us to generate positive operating cash flows on a run rate basis at the prevailing market levels. Now, positive operating cash flow doesn't necessarily mean they'll always post a profit in the earnings, because of course they're going to put more money into R&D, put more money into expansion, but just from an operating standpoint, they do expect to be profitable there. And as I briefly mentioned in the intro, these guys had a reverse split. And of course, knowing that a company's had a reverse split shows you that there's been major problems with them, at the very least from a stock price standpoint. It had trouble staying over $1. It of course had its compliance notices from the NASDAQ. They were not able to comply and they did have to do a reverse split. But now that this negative catalyst is behind us, I do see potential for an entry point soon. And why do I say that? Well, the chart is still a bit bearish. The stock price is currently under the 50 and 200 MA and they are in a bearish order, meaning the 200 or the green line is above the 50 or the red line. And the EMAs don't look much better either. We have a bearish order on those as well. But you will notice that this has been consolidating, and believe it or not, I haven't really looked at Sphere 3D's chart for quite a while. I put this trend line a while ago, and when I pulled up the chart, I was like, wow, it's still following its trend, basically sideways action. Now, if Bitcoin were to dramatically fall, if there is some negative news out there, if small caps just overall sold off, we would probably see a break of this trend and creating new lows. And on the inverse, if Bitcoin starts running up, if we get some good news about miners, if money just enters the space, maybe we hear about the Fed getting more dovish, we start seeing the Fed talking about lowering rates in the future, maybe the upcoming CPI, upcoming data before the Fed's meeting comes in and gives us some hope that the Fed doesn't need to raise rates again, we could see a rally, a break out of this resistance here right around 350. Now you'll notice that this has been consolidating. So the 200 MA is starting to get sideways. It's not as much in a downtrend, which means if we were to start seeing a spike, get the share price above the moving averages and sustain that for just a short while, we could potentially see the 50 MA bounce above the 200 MA, giving us a golden cross, which would be where I would likely enter this stock. It could be a few weeks from now, it could be a month or two from now, but I think timing wise, this is starting to get to be a good opportunity to at the very least, watch this stock and watch for a more bullish chart. Now, if you believe in this company long term, you believe they're going to continue to increase their hash rate, you believe they're one day going to get profitable, you believe Bitcoin's gonna just balloon over the next couple months, then I do think now's a potentially good entry point. But I honestly would like some confirmation from the chart. So that's one thing I'm watching for, a flip of the moving averages, a flip of the EMAs, and for things to just start pushing higher, for the moving averages to start pointing upwards, not downwards. But let me know what you guys think about Sphere 3D. Are you impressed with their Bitcoin mining update? Are you a bit disappointed in it since it didn't increase month over month because of these heat problems? And where do you think they're going moving forwards when they add these machines? Are we going to have a record month for Bitcoin mining? I do think for this company things are starting to look a bit better, although remember it is still extremely high risk. It's an extremely small market cap, but sometimes you gotta risk it for the biscuit. Pretend I didn't say that. But thanks as always guys, I appreciate you and have a good rest of your weekend.